We're live. How are you?
Hey,
What's going
Tony,
on,
great to be
Paul?
back. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are things going up in Toronto?
Second lockdown. We're a little bit behind up here. We stay at home order. We're still waiting for our vaccines, but we're pressing on.
Oh man, I thought I was going to move to Canada so I can get some good, better health care.
Yeah, it's free. The vaccine's free, but gives us time to work on the hobby.
That's work on the hobby. That's a nice, positive way to look at it.
Yeah.
Hey, today I wanted to talk about, and specifically with you, because I know you have a great collection of the WCW autograph cards from the 98, 99 tops releases.
Right, and it's very timely because, as you know, and as the community probably knows, yesterday, a Booker T autograph turned up, and it's the first one that we've seen probably in about 4 or 5 years, and it's currently sitting at $3,000. And who knows where it's going to go.
Yeah, it definitely is higher than what I guessed at.
Yeah.
Well,
it's going to go for more than that.
Yeah, didn't one recently pop up that was unsigned?
Yeah. I don't recall what that one went for.
And that went for a couple $1,000s too, I think.
Before, and I suspect it's maybe the same card, not a different version. I don't know, and I guess we're going to get into this, of what I call the elusive four, and then we'll get into the ones that didn't get into packs that are a little more common. The four that you're likely to not have are the Ric Flair, and to our knowledge, there's just one of them. And we've spoken about that one before.
Mm-hmm.
We've somewhat certified its authenticity through Jimmy Hart's involvement in the process of getting it signed. And we know that Ric Flair has admitted that he has signed that one card. So we know about that. Then the next two down the chain would be the Booker T that is currently just hit the market, and the Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. Those are two that didn't get inserted into packs, and we don't know how many were made. And I know that in your past podcast, you've spoken to Jeff Zapata and tried to sort of debunk that. And there's a guy, an elusive guy you're trying to speak to that would know what the breakdowns are. But yeah, I get that question often. Do you know what the seating was on these things? And I don't. We know that they went into hobby boxes only.
Yep.
We think you said that not every hobby box was guaranteed an autograph, so we don't know if it was one per.
I mean, every box that I ever opened up in the past always had one back then. But yeah, at least one. I told you, I think one time I mentioned I even pulled 3 out of a box one time, like two Sonny Onos and.
Very good box.
But that's why they have the odds of what I think it's 1 in 40 in the packs. I think they put it just in case you didn't.
You wouldn't have pulled out a Davey Boy. You wouldn't have pulled out a Booker T. And we're going to get to the tertiary list in a second. And then the fourth one that I almost put in the same category is the hardcore hack, only because I've never seen that come up again on the secondary market. I had the opportunity to buy it from a friend of his that had a handful, and I don't know what a handful means, if that's 2 or 3 or a dozen. And it was $150, and I said no, but this was $150 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Like the Ric Flair went, I think, for $2,000.
Yeah, somebody had quoted that it went for like 12 and change like that. I go, no. It went for 2,000 because at that time, this is early 2005 when this card went out. It came up on eBay.
2005? Was that long?
2005. Because I had, at that time, to my knowledge, I had sold the most expensive wrestling cards sold on eBay at that time. I had a Trish Stratus 5 of 5 from that 2005, the Divas.
Oh, the 2005, yeah. Not the.
And so I pulled an autograph swatch, and it sold for $1,625 what I sold it for on eBay.
And that was the record at that time.
At that time, and then shortly after that Ric Flair shows up out of nowhere and went for $2,000.
Right. And I remember at the time bidding $1,500 on it, and thinking I was out of my mind because I'd never spent anything close to that on a wrestling card before. But I thought, well, maybe it'll come up again, and we've never seen it since.
Not since.
The Davey Boy I've seen a couple of times as well. It traded in the high $800-900 range at one point. But this Booker now the question is going to be, and we're going to talk about this more about the last year and pricing and what's happened, is that are all these people that are spending big money on cards, the guys that are spending $30,000 on a rock sticker or $90,000 on a rock bumblebee, are they going to enter the fray, or did they even know about this Booker T card? It's not, we know about it, all the main collectors and guys like Wes Moore that you spoke to last time, we're all very aware of the rarity of this card. But is it going to translate into something that turns into big money? Is it going to be a 5-figure card? And I don't think so. Like some of the guesses we were throwing around was 3, 4. I think honestly it's going to exceed $5,000. I don't know how much more than that, but for a raw card, that's pretty good for a
It is
Booker T.
really good,
Yeah, but
especially
let's
when,
just
because
say,
again, you don't see them very often. That's the problem. I mean,
no, and that set in particular is highly sought after. I'm not the only one that has all of them. There's quite a few guys that have all of them
now,
and
what
are
consists of
jumping.
all of them?
Now, for me, it's everything but the Ric Flair, the Booker T, the Davey Boy Smith, and the Hardcore Hack. From there down, I would have all of them. Now, I understand that there was talk about a second a card of someone that I wasn't aware of.
Horace Hogan one.
Horace
It's supposed to
Hogan
be
is
a
a different
variant of
variant.
his.
That I don't have, but the Mysterio through your efforts all those years ago found my way into the collection, and then all the ones like the Bobby Duncum and the Mikey Whipwreck and those other ones that,
Scott
however,
Steiner.
yeah, those ones. Well, let me backtrack. I mean, because Wes was on his show, and I got a great deal of respect for him because trying to put that set together now must be incredibly different. Don't forget that I was putting together a set in around 2005, so it was only like 3-4 years after they'd come out, and there just wasn't the market for them then, and they're easier to get. Like he'd mentioned that I think it was a Fire or a Whisper was one of his final eights that he was looking to get,
Yep.
and I recall those coming up fairly regularly back in the day, and I might have paid $20 for mine.
Yeah, $20 maybe. Yeah.
So these poor guys that are collecting them in 2020, trying to put together the set, like maybe they've got 80 of them and they're trying to get the last 20 or
Yeah.
25, whatever it is. You know, it can't be easy. It's like ice cream cards. Try and finish that set today. Next to impossible.
It's really hard.
And you got to look at these things objectively. Like for me, I'd love to own that Booker T card, but it might be a $5, $6, $7,000 card.
Yep.
Now I have to look at it objectively. I don't have any transcendent stuff. I don't have a Vince Auto. If I'm going to go out and spend $5,000 on wrestling, is that really where I need it to be? Just to say, hey, I have it, or to get a nice scan for our websites? So I'd love to have the card, and I'm not done bidding yet. But I suspect that it's going to go for more than I'm prepared to pay.
Yeah, it's going a lot higher than I thought it would ever go for. But again, you don't see them very often.
Well, again, the guys in our world, right? The collectors like us, I don't think we're in that snack bracket of paying $30,000 for a card or $20,000 for a card. Like these guys are, professional DJs, professional athletes, that for them to drop $40,000 on a piece of cardboard isn't a thing. But for all of us, that live in the real world, we just can't spend that kind of money.
Do you think it's going to be a hardcore wrestling collector? It's going to end up being this Booker T card, or it's somebody else who's coming in from outside?
That's what I was asking earlier. I mean, if the word got out, to your upper echelon guys like in Gary V's social network that are looking at wrestling now and said, hey, here's something really special. Someone maybe even watching this saying, well, these two guys seem to know what they're talking about. Why are they all going crazy over this Booker T card? That, there's still 4 days to go on this auction. That may very well get one of these guys with money or guys that are doing fractional ownership, to pony up even more. That's why Zan said $5,000, and I jokingly sort of responded, it could be double that, and it could very well be. I suspect it's going to be 5 to 6 but who knows? None of us has a crystal ball.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like real estate in Toronto. It's just been going up and up and up and up. And I couldn't live where I live today if I didn't buy it all those years ago. And it's kind of the same thing with my wrestling collection. I can't go and buy 80% of what I own now because I just wouldn't do it. It's just you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it's a good investment, definitely a good investment from back then. I mean, but who knew that those WTW cards, as we thought they were so common because we see them on eBay all the time. Yeah. Your Fires, your Whispers, all these, even La Parkas, and you'd find Scott Norton. They were all over the place.
And look what happened. We just spoke earlier that a Savage just went for $1,800.
$1,800, yeah.
And this is an ungraded card,
And his wasn't hard to come by back in the day either.
No.
Neither was a Scott Hall or a Kevin Nash.
If you take off obviously the Elite Four that weren't inserted into packs, and then some of the more difficult ones to get, just from a value point of view, obviously the Hogan, but I put Savage and Elizabeth right up there in that top tier. And then the next tier would be guys like Benoit, Guerrero, Jericho, Bret Hart, Goldberg. They're getting crazy money. Sting. Yep. They're just getting really, really big money. But the Savage and Elizabeth in particular, that might have been a $50 card 5 years ago.
Yeah.
that's trading for that. So that set in particular has definitely appreciated, and it deserves to, because in all the sets that have been released, it's definitely one of my favorites.
Why do you
'Cause it has
think that? Why
so
do you
many.
think the price increase has gone up so much in the last couple of years with those cards?
Well, I just think it's part of the wave of everything in general that's happened to sports cards and collecting and wrestling in particular. I mean, the guys that know that those are some pretty sought after cards, and those cards are special. So when we're seeing rookie cards going for $100, $200, these
Yeah,
things are going.
but that's a small group of people though. That's a small, like
Mm,
you're seeing Rock cards and Stone Cold. We're talking about established big name people from that era going for big money. WCW autograph cards, I don't care if it's, El Dandy or anybody. They're going for big money.
yeah, all of a sudden the El Dandy's worth $100.
That guy
I
was a
think that
$5
I
card
think
back
that's
in the day.
Yeah, I think that speaks to the desirability of the set. You asked me a few months ago on one of these, what's my favorite set, and I said, like it's actually three sets, but it's the autos, it's the 99s and the 98, and then the two from 99, the WCWs, because
Mhm.
you've got 103, or I don't know what the exact count is because I get
It's
confused on.
101 cards, but then as I was told on the YouTube comments that it should be 102 because there's a variant of the Horace Hogan's. Like, well, it's the same guy with a
Right.
variant logo on it. It's 101 different guys that are
Well,
actually
there's
in.
variants on the signatures
Of
because the
course,
Hogan I have is rare. It has some say Hollywood, some say
some
just
just say
Hogan.
HH, some just say Hogan.
Yeah, and some are signed on the back,
Yeah,
right? For
yeah,
example, from the comic images Superstars, Big Boss Man signed his card on the back.
correct.
That now all of a sudden is a crazy card.
Yeah,
That just went for like $450. That Boss Man, So that, and I mentioned to you earlier, because of the spike in prices with the price guide that we offer online. Obviously, a lot of the prices are low now. They need to be adjusted. So one of my projects over the next few months is for my personal collection. I want to sort of go back and fill in some more up to date numbers based on eBay solds. And I use 130 point. I used watch count. And if you really need to know, if you're holding a card in your hand and you got a Savage, that's where you need to go. Because if you go to my site, you're going to see numbers that are going to give you a range. And I've said this before, my site is the wrestling card guide. It's not the Bible. And of course, over the last couple of years, last 9 months in particular, a lot of the numbers, particularly, and we spoke about this the very first time we spoke. We talked about, are the numbers up to date? And from that time to now, anything we would have adjusted then is throw that away. Now you can
yeah.
probably double those numbers again, right? So one of my projects is going to be for my personal collection, just to get my head around, like my All-Stars. I think I have them on my checklist as being the set being worth $200. So I want to figure out, okay, what's the value of this stuff behind me? And when I get a sense based on eBay solds, then I'm going to interpolate that to the price guide. And over the next few months, try and get more accurate on the stuff that people are looking at more often. I certainly can't go back and do it all,
Yeah.
but stuff like Wrestling All-Stars, stuff like WCW autographs, signature stuff, autographs, Kiss stuff, just to get that a little closer. But it'll never be spot on because it's changing
That's
constantly.
why it's always a guide. It's why it's supposed to just to
And
help
that's what it
you.
is. That's what it is. Like it's a nice sort of counterpoint to what WTC is and is going to be again once you get it updated. And the two sites have always worked very well for collectors as a sort of, if you
Mhm.
want images and all the detailed checklists, you go to WTC. But if you want to have a quick look at the price, maybe check out a video for a quick snapshot of it. So between the two, we've got you covered.
Yeah, absolutely, we do. Do you see? Do you think there's going to be? Is there a ceiling on this stuff for this particular set?
Well, unfortunately, yeah, I think so. Because
And my follow up to
because
that would be: do you see them coming back down at all? As some of them coming back to like some sort of a more?
well,
You
you're
think an El
talking
Danny's? You
specifically,
think an El
are you
Danny's going to
talking
come down?
specifically about the WCW or the hobby as a whole?
I'm talking about WCW autograph cards. Do you think an El
Okay,
Dandy
that's a little
will
different
always be
than
$100?
that's an interesting question. I'm going to say no. There might be a decrease in that, and I was going to speak to the larger issue. We have a lot of people with a lot of money, and more people coming into it as people with money are attracting other people with money. It's becoming a bit of a dick swinging contest to
It
see
really is.
who can get what, right? The only problem is that we got way more cards to sell than there are big time dick swingers out there.
Yeah.
So eventually, pandemics are going to be lifted. People are going to start going to clubs, going to dinners, going to football games, getting back out there again. And all of a sudden, cards, particularly wrestling, and we know that we're on not the lowest rung, but we're not football, we're not baseball, we're not boxing even. We're going to be we're going to see some change. But is it going to be a widespread bloodbath? Again, back to what I do for a living, real estate. I've been hearing that we're in a bubble up here for the last 15 years. Everyone's been saying it's going to correct itself, and it doesn't. And every time I think that it's crazy that we've just paid this, I wish I would have bought two of them. And the same thing should be happening in wrestling cards. So is it, is it going to keep going like this? I don't think so. But I don't think it's going to go bah and it's all over.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to crash down. But I go back to the El Dandy reference. I mean, is El Dandy always going to be $100 card, or will he come down to 50?
That could speak to, again, awareness, right?
Yeah.
Think about where we were a year ago, and think about all the videos that you've done, all the videos that Zan's done, the Worlds Collide podcast, which is sensational, by the way, because you guys get right into the nitty gritty of it. Robin, like David Peck, poor guy, for 10 years on his own on Twitter, letting the world know about All Stars and wrestling cards. And then finally, here we all come in one big bunch last summer. And I'm sure he's like, yeah, what took you so long, guys?
Yeah.
And obviously Rob, what he's done with the rock sticker, and congratulations to him on that. But it's all awareness, you see. So this, the price guide, all this stuff is bringing attention. So that's helping El Dandy, I think. You know what I mean? Like, all the people having access to this kind of knowledge that they didn't have before and getting into it. And I can't keep saying this enough, but we're a tight community since we sort of doing this amongst the group of us that sort of do the website, do the price guide, do the videos. We're all very cool with each other. We share information, we share scans, so that's cool.
Because the objective is always to get the knowledge out there to people, to let them know about the hobby and what's out there, what exists. And hopefully that also help debunk things too.
Right.
And speaking of that,
and you wanted to talk about that in particular, yeah.
So there's been sort of a talk about, like, people will make claims that they pulled this out of a pack when it's well known within the main group of people who've done this homework for years, over 20 years now, that that's not true. Case in point,
at the time this stuff was being released, right? Guys like you, me, and you, and Anthony, and Grim back in the day, we were doing it at the time.
Correct.
We were getting this information in real time back in the day. We're not going back now on the internet and trying to figure out what's what.
No, this is real time information back then from all of our relationships with manufacturers.
Credibility above what you might see in a chat forum. Someone says, "Oh, I pulled a Steve Austin out of a cards main event."
Yeah.
Well, we're not even sure 100% if that's happened, because none of us have legitimately ever done that. Mine, the guy said, "Yeah, I got it out of a pack," and okay, but I didn't do it.
It's so hard to authenticate that, especially on that. And that's a whole different conversation for a different
with the
episode.
WCW autographs, we know what went in and what didn't.
Yes.
I'll let you carry on.
So we do know that, because like I said, we did information research in real time, like you said. So all of us at some point in time had some sort of connection with these manufacturers. I knew that I was really in with Comic Images. So those releases that came out from Comic Images, I was on the phone talking to Ron Ferrari, who was the editor of all Comic Images stuff at the time, all their entertainment stuff. And I was good friends with Alan Gordon for so many years, the CEO and president of Comic Images. So I got all the information on all that stuff. Topps, we all had various types of relationships with somebody at Topps. Same with Fleer. We all had relationships with somebody at Fleer. So we were really getting information in real time. So it's not rumor. It's not, maybe you might be right. No, it's fact that we were told by the manufacturer. These were never put into packs at the time. They never sent them back. This is why it also fuels the rumor.
It at that time.
Yeah, it also fuels the rumor of, like, there might have been an Ultimate Warrior one, and there might have been a Ted Turner one, and there might have been an Eric Bischoff
on that. It's been 20 years, right?
Exactly.
It's been 20 years. If there's a Bischoff, if there's a Warrior, I suspect we would have seen it by now. Guys have come out.
You would think so.
Guys have come out with fake Bulldogs, right? And right away we catch it, because I know exactly what the original ones look like. And on these fake ones, the background isn't the right color. The shading is off. You can tell immediately. So if someone's going to turn up with a Warrior, I'll know.
Yeah.
When I see it, if it's from that same print run as all the rest of these. Same with Bischoff. Turner. Turner didn't sign the card.
I mean, again, it's just people fueling the fire about things like that. Saying that
people have to realize that this information that's on a price guide and on WTC was authenticated at the time. Now, I remember back when David used to get the Fleer checklists, and he used to put them onto WC as we were running fresh during that first epic of the 2000s. Guys like me and Chuck would actually buy the stuff and realize, oh, this insert set wasn't released, or you have a card here listed that didn't get put out, like happened in the Fully Loaded recently. and we would send David that's how we contributed. We would send updates to WTC. So, oh, by the way, this didn't make the set, So a lot of the stuff is been verified and authenticated back then by the lead guys that were sort of buying this stuff, myself included.
Yep, right? Exactly. So we have 8 known cards that were never inserted in packs. Before you mentioned, we got Scott Steiner. We got Rey Mysterio. Who else are we missing here now? We got Bobby Duncum.
And
Mikey Whipwreck.
No, you said him.
Mikey Whipwreck. Those are the 4. So Mikey Whipwreck, Bobby Duncum, Rey Mysterio, and Scott Steiner.
Those okay. Yeah. Those
are the 4. Those are the 4 with the other big 4. So we have 8 total that have never been inserted in packs that we know of.
The Rey Mysterio, you were responsible for
I did those.
I don't recall if I bought mine directly from you or if on the secondary market. But remember, when these started surfacing, eBay was around, but it was newish. They were just getting PayPal going. I remember going to the post office like every second day to get money orders to send down to the States to get this stuff. And sorry, I lost my train of thought.
About Rey Mysterio cards and you.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. That at the time they were easy to. They weren't rare. Like they were rare, but they were gettable. Like nowadays,
they were gettable because the market also wasn't really commanding for them at much either. So I did a deal with Rey Mysterio when he was in between WWE, WCW, and WWE. He came and did an appearance. I've told the story before, but I'll tell it again because it's the subject we're talking about. In that year, whatever year it was, I can't remember what it was. Like I was a vendor at a Frankenstein collectible show in Southern California, just outside of LA. And he came in there to make an appearance and did autographs. It wasn't even that big of an appearance, surprisingly. And he had a whole brick of these unsigned cards with him. And his friend/manager, name was Ed. We made a deal. And I did 40 of those cards. I took 40 of them. I have some signed in black, some signed in red, some signed in black, some signed in blue, and some were signed in red. Very few were in red. And that was it. And then I distributed those out. Some went to Bart from AWS, some went to different places. So when I went back to get more of them, because I knew he had a whole bunch more, we could never, get a deal. He wanted way more money at that time. That was like not even 3-4 months later.
I would have obtained all those 4, the Steiner, the Mysterio, the Whipwreck, through eBay. I don't think I bought any of those from Grimm. I did buy a lot of stuff from Grimm directly back then, but I don't think those. I think those would have turned.
He didn't have them. He didn't have those cards.
And they weren't outrageous. Like that's why I said no to 150 for a hardcore cat back then, because it's like, hang on, I haven't paid that for any of these.
Yeah.
Including the Hogan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, Mysterios, I think
I paid $75 for the Hogan back in 2002, 2003. Right? That was a lot back then for a wrestling card. Seriously, like to spend $75 on a wrestling card, but because I had the rest of them. That's why when buddy said, "Oh, I have the hardcore hack for 150," I'm like, "No, I'll wait until the second one comes along."
Yeah.
Long. Right? And the 2005 Flair, and I went to 1,500 at that point. And I'll wait until it never come back. And now we've got a Booker sitting in front of us for $3,000. And I'm looking at it every night before I go to sleep thinking,
It's on my watch list. I'm just kind of monitoring it, checking it out.
Yeah, but I'm, like I haven't, because I bought so much a long time ago, I only buy the new sets now. And I'm not interested. About the time that you guys stopped publishing, something else sort of came into play that really grossly affected me negatively. And that was eBay introduced something called the Global Shipping Program at around that same time. Now, all of a sudden, getting product into Canada tripled price-wise. So gone were the days of $3 or $5 shipping pricings, or shipping envelopes, and you're paying like $18, $22. So now it doesn't make sense to buy one relic card. You got to hope someone got a budge, because it's just too expensive to get them up here through the Global Shipping Program. And that made it difficult. So for me, it's like I bought so much a long time ago, and I'm glad that I did, because I wouldn't be able to acquire it now. But it's about this Booker T.
Yeah, the Booker T is it's the whole reason why we're having this conversation. Really, it's because comments were made about insertion into packs. Pricing is going crazy on some of these. So I'm actually not surprised to see the pricing going up on some of these, because I think that there are more eyes on the wrestling card product now, which is great. It's still not getting anywhere near the love that it deserves, like other sports are getting.
Or even within wrestling memorabilia.
Correct.
Like I have a buddy of mine that's into figures, and it's the same shit is happening there with prices, but there's way more people into it. Like
Yeah.
it's just more.
Well, there's also, I think, more product too.
Yeah, quite a bit.
There's a lot more product. They print a lot of that stuff. So, um,
Yeah. Well,
I,
you ask the question all the time, like why don't wrestling fans collect more wrestling? You ask the superstore guy, why don't
yeah.
wrestling store retailers stock more wrestling? So
Well,
we're
for him, stocking has been we talked about that, and I'll tweet something once in a while about teasing him for not carrying stuff, but it's not because he hasn't made an effort since we had that interview with him.
right.
He's just Tops is telling him no, and distributor says no, you're not big enough. We're not going to send you anything.
I saw, you go on Twitter and you see pictures of guys going to Target and the queue is around the corner and
Oh yeah,
2 blocks long, and then they get there and they're only allowed to buy one blaster box of something.
yep.
I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. Like the
Yeah,
hobby
they
is just,
have. I saw it for the first time ever. I rarely go
when I
in, but
was a kid, the hobby was for kids, but it's not for kids
it's
now.
not. It hasn't been for kids for a long time.
It hasn't
Uh,
been like, like we're talking about serious money, like even the Tops Living set, that what are we paying? We're paying like $10 a card or $8 a
yeah,
card.
yeah. You're
You
paying
know,
basically $20 a week,
hell, yeah. Thank God
basically.
for
I
Chuck.
guess.
Thank God for Chuckster on that, by the way. He's
Yeah,
buying 2 of each.
yeah. He's buying two of each.
Yeah, and then he'll send me
Uh,
my batch at the end of the year.
oh, nice. Very nice.
Again, with the shipping. And I only got my Undertaker. The first time I ever bought a Tops Now was the Undertaker Dead Man, and I got that like 6 weeks ago. You know,
I,
seriously, it's
when did it come out?
December.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not too long. Not too long.
Yeah, I guess you got to be patient. Like I've been following you along with your sort of grading exploits, how you're getting into it and you're
Oh
learning
yeah.
about PSA and you're personally collecting angle. And I'm watching you doing this all. I'm thinking, okay, let's see how Tony makes out in your whole thing with HGA and how that's
Yep.
going on. And
Yeah, I just tweeted. Someone made a comment. I'm part of a couple different groups now on Facebook talking about HGA stuff, and
yeah, and I,
not to get totally off topics like that, but someone made a great analogy about HGA and Blockbuster versus Netflix and that kind of thing, where PSA
right,
is Blockbuster and HGA is Netflix, and no one's believing in them, kind of thing. And I'm a fan of it, and I believe in that
great.
they're going to keep going forward. But I'm only submitting wrestling cards, all I collect. So people are like, I've seen people's posts going, "Hey, anybody know any information about WWE cards for HGA?" And I go,
Yeah.
"Yeah, as of right now, as of this morning, there's only 2 wrestling cards on their pop report.
There you
And
go.
a
So you're gonna
85."
become the Rob England of HGA is what's gonna happen.
So I'm the only one sending in a lot of wrestling apparently. So I see people saying, "Oh, well, if I can get in because it's done through a lottery system to get in,
Right.
if
But
I can
that's
get
the
in,
whole thing. That's the whole thing. Like PSA cutting everybody off and then saying there's a 9-month wait and then increasing fees and then
yeah,
what you guys are going through with HGA. You got to be patient.
got to be
Now,
patient."
we've had this conversation many times over, and sometimes people have accused me of being anti-grading, which I'm not. The only reason why I've never graded is because I don't intend to sell.
Yeah,
And I 100% understand that to maximize your value in the card, you want to get it graded, and that
sure.
you're obviously, if there ever was and it is what it is, that applies to grading. So it's worth it.
It's
And
worth it. Yeah,
everyone's on are buying cards. You want to maximize your value and you want to turn around for other cards and other things. And yeah, that's the way to go.
there's a bit of
But
the
guys,
there's a bit
guys
of
like
the
that guy,
investing slash
we're,
collecting.
we're collectors of cards. And we would have started this game, I suspect, many, many years ago, if that's what it was for us.
Yeah. So to me now, it's a mix now between investing and collecting kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you're doing the angle stuff.
yep,
I
loving it.
actually got some more Russian stuff from Anthony, and there was an angle in there, and I thought about you.
Oh yeah, you mean you picked up the Russian one?
Yeah, uh not that one, but
Oh,
the next the universe set. I have that
gotcha.
one as well. That's the one that's a little bit smaller with the black with the gray. It's darker. It's blue.
This is the exact same size as a memorable trading card.
Yeah,
This
the
one.
the
Yeah,
the superstars one is, and that
gotcha.
the one I'm talking about is a little bit smaller.
Yeah, I ordered 3 cards from him. He only sent me 2, so I got to talk to that guy.
Yeah, but you know what? I've said it before. Kudos to Anthony for unearthing all this stuff.
Yep.
He's gone and found his stuff in Russia. He's found his stuff in Malaysia. He's found his stuff in India.
Mhm.
The way Nick is finding indie stuff, and Chuck and I are trying to sort of organize it and catalog it, which we'll share with you
Yep.
obviously when we're up and running, so we can have that information out there. So it's all good. I think this is all this stuff that we're doing is just helping the hobby in general.
Absolutely. So clearly, either there's more eyes being put on the product, but no one wants to talk about it, or it's just people who already collected wrestling cards are just now spending I don't know what stimulus money or something, or I have
Well,
no because
they
this Booker T card wasn't going to go for no $3,000 a couple of years ago.
no. No, but eBay just announced that their wrestling was up 500%.
Yeah, but compared to like tennis was
That's a
up
lot.
10, it is a lot. And you know what? When we had that,
Other sports is
we
more,
talked
I
about,
know.
yeah, we talked about it, and they're like, oh, tennis and soccer was up, 3,000%, whatever it was, and tennis was up 5,000%, and then wrestling up 500%. Because the girl from eBay was talking to Gary Vee, and she's like, oh, I know you're a big fan of wrestling cards,
Right.
so wrestling's up 500% with us as well, and that was it. No more talk about wrestling anymore. None.
Yeah, weird. That they didn't give it more time.
It's a
They
stigma
sell more wrestling
about.
cards than anybody, obviously. Like eBay, like that's the market for wrestling,
It's
essentially.
such a. I had a conversation with Zan the other day about this too, and it's like, there's just a general overall stigma about wrestling.
Do you
Period.
think it's a stigma? Do you think there's a bad
Yes,
thing associated with it?
because I know in some of the talent that I speak with and I work with sometimes, looking to go out and get acting, jobs, try to get an endorsement, like that. It's like, but you're a wrestler, and that's what they look at it that way. So
Really?
there's a general. It's fun to watch and it's cool
Right.
wrestling, but I would never want to employ you. I never want to collect you. I mean, I just, it just seems it's weird to me. It's weird that it's looked upon that way.
Well, but look what's happened in the last year. Someone paid 30 grand for a rock sticker.
Exactly.
That didn't exist 2 years
But
ago.
who did? Somebody who was into wrestling, or somebody looking from an investment standpoint doesn't give a shit about
Or
wrestling.
or somebody that makes $30 million a year and is friends with The Rock. You know what I mean? So there's that tier of society that's getting into it.
Sure.
And that's certainly, they say all tides raise boats, all high tides raise the boats. It's the
Sure.
same kind of thing. You have this kind of expenditure going on, you're going to see some big numbers. But go back to your old Andy. Why is that selling for $100? And it did, right?
Yeah. Why?
So there is, although it's not as big as tennis, maybe there is a market. There are people that know, like a Rey Mysterio base card rookie traded for $50. We know that Warrior Classic base cards are now going for like $300-400, right? So why shouldn't an El Dandy autograph in the most prestigious autograph set, if you don't mind me saying, nothing
Yeah.
against Leaf or TriStar,
No.
but like for me, that 102, 3, 4, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that set is the set for autographs in wrestling. Why shouldn't he be worth $100? For as a gifted performer, that's my thing. Hardcore hack, his cards would be worthless, but that card's worth a lot of money
Yeah.
if you can get it,
Well,
because
one, it's fun if you even if you do get a hardcore hack, he doesn't sign it hardcore hack either.
Sandman,
Yeah, he signed it Sandman.
right? See that the one I was going to get, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it was
don't recall. My memory's fuzzy on it.
yeah, from my knowledge and
I
from
just remember $150, and I said no.
from my knowledge and from what I remember when I was researching all that stuff back then, I was made a deal to try to buy some of those,
Right.
but the deal was contingent upon him signing them hardcore hack, which
And
that's
he
what
wouldn't
was
do
like. He wouldn't do it. It only signs them Sandman because the story is that he hated that character. He hated that name.
But are there any Sandmans out there?
Never seen one.
Me neither.
I mean, it doesn't mean they don't
Yeah.
exist.
Right.
I'm sure somebody might have convinced him, maybe
Right.
got drunk
But
and
again,
stupid and sign one.
with all the media that's been put on wrestling cards that we've done over the last, we've exposed the sort of hobby to the world, right? So
Yeah.
if there anybody out there is sitting on something, they know what they got, they're going to make themselves known. If all of a sudden someone has a Ultimate Warrior WCW autograph, they're going to reach out to one of us. That's how I got my Panini set.
Someone can turn around and say, well, that would be the case if someone actually had them. They could be sitting in a box somewhere at his,
Yeah,
his
but you know
estate
what?
in a garage somewhere. We don't know.
The two rarest wrestling sets, in my opinion, 1979 Actual Beef, 1995 Panini,
Mhm.
right? Anthony knew about the Panini forever. I was looking for them forever. Some guy in New Zealand who was communicating through my site all of a sudden saw them and said, hey, I think I saw this at my friend's. And lo and behold, there was a complete set. The only complete set that we ever know about. And it took me quite some time, like this was a couple of years before I finally purchased. But he reached out because that information was put out there. So I doubt that there's a very elusive card that's just going to turn up all of a sudden. That's going to rock our world.
Well, do you worry that someone ends up watching this
Yeah.
and then turns around and goes, I got a good printing company out there. I can probably make one look really nice like that and try to pass it off.
Well, people have tried, right?
Uh,
We've seen recent flares. We've seen, well, first of all, there was no bones about the fact that he used a different image of Flair, not the one that came out
Sure.
in 2005. So that was the first giveaway. Here's the thing. In 2005, printing technology was good, but it's not where it's at today,
Correct.
right? So for someone to have fabricated that 2005 Ric Flair or the Steiners or the Bulldogs or anything. It's not likely. And like I
Yeah,
say,
I'm not concerned about that time frame. I'm talking about
yes,
now.
yeah, now. I think as soon as we see something, me and you and Rob and David and Chuck, we're all going to be under a microscope and looking at it and saying, "What is this?" You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's not going to get past us, I don't think. Right?
Because somebody once had tried to pass off, sent me a message one time going, "Did you know that there was dual autographs from those WCW autograph cards?" You know,
Yeah,
there
I've seen it.
wasn't.
Of
Yeah,
course not. Right.
and they're homemade cards.
Right.
So
Again, because we spent such time and effort into educating ourselves to be able to pass this education along or this knowledge along to the outside world, right? That's how we kind of protect ourselves and buffer ourselves from this kind of thing happening. I've been listing unofficial cards, custom cards on the site, as many people know, but I list them as such,
yeah,
so that people know that this is unofficial, right? Not put out by WCW or whatever, and that's it. But I won't put up something like that. If someone all of a sudden comes up with a made-up Ultimate Warrior card, no, that doesn't count.
So if someone came up and decided to do a homage to the WCW autograph cards and made their own little set, that's not something you would probably list.
No, I would, because I've listed the superstars, that British set that came out on the sort of heavier plastic cards. But I would make it clear that this is not the original 1999 WCW autograph.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't think we're very far off from someone actually trying to pull that off. I've already seen people selling,
but
like,
he's not going to get away with it is the point.
Yeah.
No one's going to be able to try and get big money. Like the LGA cards on my site, for example, they still only go for $6 each, right? And there's an interesting story with that set. He had a set of ECWs that were on my site, and the photographer from ECW asked him to cease and desist. And because he was making money on it, he complied. And then I said, okay, I'll take him down. And he said, well, not necessarily. You're not making money on it. You're just showing that this is a set. And I said, yeah, but I don't want to ruffle the feathers of a photographer.
Sure.
I left them up there, and nothing has happened since. But I'm mindful of unofficial cards. But I mean, we've had unofficial cards since the Konamis, and we've had them throughout. But no one's going to all of a sudden turn up with a WCW Booker T that's fake and get $3,000 for it. We won't let them.
We hope not. We really hope not.
No, because as soon as we're going to be chiming in pretty quick, as soon as I see something that's not right, I'm going to DM you and very quickly, like yesterday, that Booker T hit. And within minutes, I had 5 or 6 people. Hey, did you see this?
Yeah, same here. And I wanted to chime in. I'm like, I gotta watch. One, I gotta make sure I watch my tone because I don't want, I don't want to come off as being like this dick. But the person was like, I would have remembered if it wasn't from a pack. I'm like, well, I can tell you right now. Then, maybe you're a little cloudy. I'm not
just because we know we got to be careful about knowing too much. I hear you.
True. So I'm like, okay, well, the official stance is that it does not exist in packs. So you go ahead and believe that. But
yeah,
it's just incredible to me. Someone there's something similar to that. Someone pulled something from a pack that I thought, wow, then you'd be the only one on the planet that did that. So, and I couldn't remember what it was, but.
Well, again, I saw a Stunning Steve from the main event packs, and it could be.
Yeah.
There's a rumor about those, right?
I saw that too. It's like that, but that's one I'm referring to probably. But I'm like, I had a Bagwell one. I don't know if someone told me it came from a pack.
Bagwell one.
Yeah.
So I'm more inclined to believe that Bagwell did sign if you got one and I got one.
Yeah, right? I have a Bagwell one that I had it years ago. I have no idea. There's nothing to authenticate it, so it has nothing on it.
But all of a sudden, 15 years later, a Stunning Steve Austin, the most desirable card of the set, turns up. I don't know.
15? Try like 25 years later.
Oh, sorry. Of course. Yeah, right. It was 95, of course.
Yeah.
So 25, right. I got my dates. That was even before WCW sets we're talking about, right. So, now all of a sudden someone's pulled the Steve out of a pack.
Yeah. Which, there's not a whole lot of packs out there.
I can't say no to it, but I can say no to the fact that those WCW autographs, as we know, there's the 8 of them that never went into packs.
Yeah. And
I got my information from Grim, and Grim likely had the same source as you, and we measure up on all this stuff.
Yeah.
Very rarely do you say something that I go, wait a minute, I was around back then. That's not so. Quite usually when you say it, it's
funny that when we talk about Grim, especially when it comes to the WCW stuff and the comic images stuff, most information that he probably passed on to others like that were conversations that he and I had.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because you were
Because
tight with those guys.
well, because I mean, we would have long conversations on the phones like that, and he was. I had a connection at Fleer, but not like his connection. He had a really good connection at Fleer, but you know, I had a little bit more of an insight with Tops and especially comic images, and so we would share that information with each other, so we knew, you know, what was true and what was, you know, what wasn't. And then when like the Fleer stuff came out, their checklist would say one thing they put out, but it was something that came out completely different, you know, in the release itself.
That's what we used to do. We
So,
used to
yeah.
go after I put out the price guide and I became friendlier with Chuck. We would often share emails about, hey, do you know if this exists? Do you know if that exists? And that's how we would sort of keep the checklist as accurate as possible.
Well, it's very interesting to see what's coming out with this WCW stuff and how all these years later these cards are commanding some big money right now. And I'm curious to see how this Booker T ends. Really
Yeah,
am.
me too. Yeah,
Just
me too.
because, you know, it's fun to watch. It's intriguing. I want to see. I kind of want to know, you know, who ends up with that card and what
If we
was.
can find out, sure.
Yeah,
I'd
I
like
want to
to.
know, and I'd love to have a conversation with that person. Like, you know, why did you spend this kind of money on this card? What
Yeah,
about this card made you want to buy this card?
yeah.
And
Well,
for that kind of money.
I intend to bid again, but if I don't get it, yeah, I'd love to find that out. And again, we're, you know, not to say that we're at the apex now of this booming cars. There might still be a lot of wind left in it, but we're certainly at a high point. So
Yeah.
because we're at this high point and we've seen the Rocks and the Hogans and the big names, the Austin, you know, those being talked about every day, you know, but no one's talking about a Booker T card, a raw, ungraded Booker T autograph that could be a potentially $7,500 card, right? So that's interesting for sure.
Yeah, totally. So be interesting to see how it ends up.
Yeah.
All right, Paul. Well, it's thank you so much for spending some time with me. I know we
Thanks,
have
seeing you
a
again.
time difference here and everything, and
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. My pleasure.
I always enjoy having conversation with you, sir.
Yeah, no, it's loads of fun, and I'm sure we'll be chatting before too long.
You got it, man.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.